And welcome back to the Hearthstone.fi Monday Night Community Tournament number 19. This is semi-final number 2 with Tars from France facing off against Soderlund from Sweden. We're gonna go ahead and join the match. I gave the players permission to start playing already, so it shouldn't take too long for them to pick their classes. Tars is playing Mage Warrior Shaman and Soderlund is playing Mage Druid Paladin. So the only common factor here being Mage. That's pretty much consistent with what we've seen in the tournament so far from other players as well. Mage is very popular right now. Soderlund goes with a Druid pick and Tars goes with his Warlock. This is probably a handlock. Well, let's confirm that. Yes, it is indeed a handlock with Alex Straza. We'll have to wait and see what they keep. This whole hand, not what you're looking for when you're playing a Ramp Druid with a combo.
Job's done.
Soderlund deciding he wants to throw them all out. And getting Wrath, Shade, Druid of the Claw Swipe instead. Turn 2 just spent as hero power, not what you would optimally want to use, but since there is no wild growth, it's just going to be a vanilla Shade of an Extra Mouse come turn 3. In the meantime, Tars with his handlock is just doing what handlocks do, putting down the pressure. On turn 3, he either has to coin out the Twilight Drake or not play anything at all, since he's currently at 9 cards. If he coins out the Twilight Drake, then he will be unable to play the Mountain Giant on turn 4. He will be at 5 mana. But there's an option of maybe doing something else if he draws into an appropriate card. But currently it is looking like he is seriously considering not playing anything, holding on to the coin just so you can get a 3 mana Mountain Giant out on turn 4. I wouldn't blame him, it's a pretty good card to get out. And you're not guaranteed to get anything useful out of the Twilight Drake.
Almost out of time.
The only downside here being the fact that you want to play at the Twilight Drake first, in case Druid just happens to have some sort of removal for the Mountain Giants. This is one of those cases where you just do not want the coin as a handlock. It actually hinders you from playing the way you would want with this hand, with double Mountain Giant and the Twilight Drake. So we'll have to wait and see. He'll probably just drop the Twilight Drake on 4 and then play Mountain Giant with 3 mana on turn 5. This turn 4 for Soderlund, probably just going to be hero power Zombie Chow. I don't see a reason for him to hold on to this Zombie Chow for any longer than necessary. It's pretty much a dead card in any later stage of the match. And if it stays on the board, it might actually provide some sort of pressure. Maybe even enable you to use the combo at an earlier stage than you would usually do with the Savage Roar, if you've already got some sort of presence on the board. Soderlund decides to not play anything and keep the Shade still hidden, well away out of threat range from something like a Bomb for 3 mana, sorry, 2 mana, Dark Bomb, or whatever that deals the 3 required damage. This turn 4, instead of playing out the Twilight Drake, Tars decides he wants to go for the bigger Mountain Giant plate earlier on. I don't blame him. On the other hand, if he had played the Twilight Drake, then this big ol' 8/8 wouldn't be so vulnerable for the Bomb Lobber to get value out of it. He can even use the Shade to just destroy the 8/4 if he wants to. Maybe use the swipe at a later stage. But is it worth sacrificing the Shade just to get out the 8/4? That's a good question. Personally, if he doesn't clear out the Mountain Giant, it will get value from either going face or destroying the Bomb Lobber, getting 2 for 1. In the process, not making the Bomb Lobber that great. Had he played the Druid of the Claw this turn, this situation would have been pretty much the same. 4 damage to the giant, nothing else. Even as a taunt, it would have been just easily cleared away. So, just playing the Bomb Lobber and not doing anything to establish board presence. It's a pretty good choice. Taurus is opting to go for the more aggressive play of Mountain Giant into the face. Using this 2 mana for the Owl would make little to no sense. There's also no Sun Fury Protector to taunt up these 2 big giants, so nothing too special about that. If they stay on the board, this Defender of Fargus will get pretty great value, so we'll have to wait and see. The existing stats on the board are 8-8 and 8-4, and the Druid has got the 8 damage already on the board. If he wants to, he can use the swipe defensively to destroy the other mountain giant, maybe even the Force of Nature. But the swipe in this case is pretty much always better. If you combine it with the Wrath, you could push down the mountain giant to 4 hit points. You could... No, there's no targets for the innervate. Just using hero power to go for face damage with the 3-3, that would also be understandable. It would still leave the Warlock above 20 health, where the Molten Giants would not be activatable. Instead, he decides he wants to go for the innervate hero power play, which enables him to destroy this Mountain Giant with just 1 attack to the face. It means he takes 8 damage to the face. It is quite nasty, don't get me wrong. But to remove the board presence from the handlock is pretty high priority. And I do understand why he did it. No more targets for the defenders or the Sun Fury protectors or what have you. And at 6 mana they are a bit gimped. Not being able to play any Mountain Giants or...
So many.
The only things that might be coming out of there is Sylvanas, then Sludge Belchers, maybe smaller minions. The choice for Taurus was basically just, do I Twilight Drake or do I Sylvanas? The Sylvanas is a pretty good choice, because now if they decloak the Shade of Naxxramas, the Sylvanas will be able to just yank it off. There's really not a lot of options there to go for. The downside to playing Sylvanas on an empty board like this is the fact that if the opposing player plays their own Sylvanas, the death rattles will proc in the order in which they were played. So Taurus's death rattle will first proc to take the 6-6, then Soderlund's death rattle will proc to take the 6-6 back. So in that way the Sylvanas play would make a lot more sense. If you play just the Druid of the Claw as a 4-6, then a single mortal coil will be able to destroy the 4-6 and you're still left with a 5-1 Sylvanas on the board. Not much to do there. So playing this own Sylvanas instead, completely understandable. Keeping the Shade still cloaked. The only thing that would be able to remove it right now is basically a giant into a Shadow Flame. And since you've already seen 2 Mountain Giants, you're not too afraid of that, given that he's nowhere near Mountain Giant range, or Molten Giant range. Now, what the Sylvanas play is vulnerable to is that silence, as you just saw there. The swing in tempo for the Warlock right now is humongous. In order for the Druid to clear out the Shade of Naxxramas, they would need to work small miracles, in fact. If playing the Druid of the Claw as maybe a taunt might slow down the Shade somewhat, pushing them down to 2 hit points, or 3 hit points effectively for come next turn. So you could, in theory, use Druid of the Claw, Zombie Chow Hero Power this turn. Hero powering out the Iron Beak Owl, of course. The other option is to go for the more aggressive play of the charging Druid of the Claw, hoping you'll be able to push the opposing Warlock into range for your upcoming combo to finish them off. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Taurus will use the 4-10 in combination with the 7-7. He doesn't have the lethal yet, I don't think so. 11 plus 2 is 13. and no direct damage from the hand, so he's probably just going to use the Twilight Drake to clear out the Druid, drop down the Defender of Argus or the Sun Fury Protector, uncloak the Shade and go for the face damage. Straight up. Try to go for the lethal next turn before the Druid has the chance to go for the combo win. In theory, even if he doesn't clear out the Druid of the Claw, then a single combo will not be lethal, it will be 20 damage. But Soderlund could easily be holding on to something like an Innervate, double Savage Roar, which would give them lethal. So, better safe than sorry. Taunt up these bad boys from the board and decloak it. Siphoning the 4/4 makes sure that you're out of range of the double Savage Roar combo in any case. And comboing that with just a 2-mana Protector means you're basically guaranteeing the game to be yours. The only thing it might kill is the 2/3, and it does kill it. Not innervating out the Druid of the Claw doesn't really matter because he's gonna go for the... Oh, not deciding to go for the Honorable Mitsubishi in this case.
I concede.
There's the concede, and Tars is in a 1-0 lead thanks to the silence play from the Sylvanas exchange. Basically that single owl making sure that the swing is just that huge strike away from making the game. What Soderlund has still got left are all of his decks, Mage and Paladin. Tars has to pick. Actually, I think I've got the wrong list here because I've got Mage, Warrior, Shaman, and he just played Warlock. So I think there might be a small graphical bug. It's not the Shaman, it's the Warlock. Mage, Warrior, Warlock makes a lot more sense.
Uther versus Jaina.
You asked for it.
I will fight.
There we go, there's the Mech Mage, as is common. We saw the Mech Mage in the previous matchup as well from both players. We're gonna say it from both players in this matchup as well. And in the finals, all the players will still have Mech Mage. So Mech Mage for everybody, except for this Feld Reaver and the Enhanso Mechano. This just got a whole lot more interesting. He's playing Feld Reaver and has a horrible curve right now. The Harvest Golem gonna be popped down on turn 3, nothing else. This Knife Juggler completely uncontested on the board. Of course he's gonna play the Harvest Golem or the Cogmaster this turn because of the fact that the Cogmaster would do absolutely nothing against the Juggler. And even if they have a muster for battle, those knives cannot take out the Golem so easily. Using the Alder on the Golem actually makes a whole lot of sense because this way the Knife Juggler is protected unless they utilize their hero power. The Spider Tank Cogmaster combo probably gonna get used, or the Fire Blast Harvest Golem into the Knife Juggler. But if you Fire Blast, then you're basically just playing the Cogmaster, and that's not a turn you want to take. So just using the 1/3 as face damage makes a lot more sense. It's basically a target for knives right now, this Harvest Golem, waiting in the bushes to get hit by this guy. Since it is Mech Mage, they will be running one copy of Mirror Entity. Usually, I don't know, maybe the secrets have been traded out for the Feld Reaver and Enhanso Mechano gimmicks. And this Kazan Mystic would get a great swing in the matchup were it to be able to take control of the enemy secret Mirror Entity. Of course it's not going to get played right now, he's going to wait for the chance to actually proc it on the secret. Instead, getting the perfect on the curve True Silver Champion, removing that pesky 3/4. It's an interesting choice to not clear out this Harvest Golem, because had he done that this turn with the Knife Juggler attack and the Peacekeeper attack, then this Cogmaster would just be a 1/2. Yes, it would be able to attack into either one of these minions and clear it out, but then they would still have to use the Fire Blast to clear out the other one. This way the 3/2 Cogmaster can actually trade up into either one of these, and the opposing mage will still be left with the Harvest Golem on the board, using it as a mech activator for things like maybe the Goblin Blast Mage or what have you. Interesting choices all around. Just to go in for the face damage isn't as significant either, given that it's just 6 damage. And at this stage of the game, that 6 damage doesn't really matter. Perfect on the curve Sludge Belcher, fighting back against the damaged golem. Turn 6, you could see a fireball into the Belcher with the golem taking out this little slime, but then there's nothing to follow it up with. On the other hand, you don't want to be playing Fell Reaver because your opponent hasn't even played the coin yet. And the coin will just discard 3 top cards from your deck. Tara's going for it. Here we go. You only live once. There's no time like the present. The coin is gonna get huge value by destroying 3 cards. Tinkertown, gone. Cogmaster, gone. And another Tinkertown, gone. Say goodbye to your spare parts and your 4/4s. Who would have wanted them anyway? Putting out the Dr. Boom. There's goes Blast Mage, an Oiotron, another Blast Mage. Oh boy, how many cards were destroyed by that. 9 cards out. Sorry, 6 cards out just by playing this bad Fell Reaver. It's backfiring so hard on Tars right now. Yes, it's an aggro deck. Yes, you should be trying your best to clear out the opposing presence, but this Fell Reaver is still staying alive. And even being left with this small taunter able to deny it from being used properly, that's huge. If I were Soderlund right now, I would be considering the best possible way to maximize the discarding potential of my hand. You cannot use the Shredder Consecration, you don't have the mana for it. You can use the Shielded Minibot Consecration. Wow, that's a really lucky hit from the Boombot. You want those Boombots to hit, oh my lord, you want them to hit the Dr. Boom so the Consecration will be huge. Doesn't even have to utilize his own boom. These Boombots will destroy this slime though. So that's the only downside there. And this Shielded Minibot still discarding many more cards. Frostbolt number 2, Snow Chugger number 2, Clockwork Gnome. Well, not very significant, but still enough. Pushing Tars down to 10 with a hand of double Fireball and a Fell Reaver, which can only push him down to 19, 12 damage on hand with a Frostbolt, that's 15 damage on hand. If he gets a Wind Fury from here, then yeah, in theory, he might be able to get it going to the point where you can just push Soderlund down to lethal range with the existing damage from your hand, but he's forced to use the Fireball as a defensive weapon against the Dr. Boom from Soderlund, so I don't see a way for this to go in favor of Taras. Yep, still discarding more and more cards. Publisher, destroying the 3 last ones, Spider Tank, and Oiotron. More than half of the deck being completely wrecked by the Fell Reaver. Polish Shredder, Mech Warper, 9 damage in hand, 8 damage on board. You're still 2 damage off. Lethal. 8 to the face, 11, 5, 2, yep, 1. You can go to 18, he's at 19. Not worth it. Do you play this defensively? There's no point in doing that right now. You're gonna take 6 damage from the board no matter what. If the Paladin even has Hammer of Justice, that will be lethal. Actually, let's think. If Soderlund doesn't draw into any sort of direct damage next turn, Tars might win this. If he manages to stay alive for 1 more turn, just 1 more turn, he should have lethal. Yep.
What to do?
But he wants to get rid of this Fell Reaver this turn because it will start drawing. No, it won't. It won't draw those fatigue cards. It will only discard top cards. So the Fell Reaver is actually safe to stay right there. But 6 damage on board, 1 from fatigue next turn. That's 7, and Tars will be left with 1, and Soderlund will lose. This is pretty interesting. I have actually never ever seen Fell Reaver be useful. And in this matchup, it was. I don't think Soderlund played bad. He played like he should have played. But since Taras is holding onto the fireball and there's no way for Soderlund to create 8 damage, he can only create 7 with the fatigue card. There's no out. Unless he gets... What could he get from there? Nope, even a Doomsayer which clears the board does absolutely nothing because that's 6 plus 1. A Taunt does nothing. These guys definitely don't do anything. And the Sylvanas defensively being played. Unfortunately this time will not help. Yep, there we go. Despite all the bad words that I gave against the Fell Reaver, I was wrong. That's actually really fun. That's great entertainment for you right there. It goes 2-1 in favor of Soderlund. In favor of Tars. I'm sorry. 2-0. He has won with his Warlock and with his Mage deck. Soderlund hasn't been able to win anything thus far. So only the Warrior left from Tars. And Soderlund would have to make a 3-0 comeback. Let's see if he can do it. Zadok's almost had it last time, but didn't quite make it.
I must protect the wild.
Does Taras have the reach to take a 3-0 in the semifinal number 2, or will Soderlund make the miracle comeback? Deciding to discard everything except the Innervate. Gets a Bomb Lobber, Pilot Shredder, and a coin, plus 1 more card. While waiting for it. Taras also discards his whole hand, gets the Dr. Boom, Shield Block, and Death Spike. In addition with the Sludge Belcher. Those won't help him too much, it'll just be Hero Power into Shield Block for the upcoming 2 turns. No reason to use Innervate this turn yet. Innervate with coin, you could get 1 Pilot Shredder out, but it's not worth it since your next move would only be the Shapeshift anyway. On turn 2, maybe using Innervate on the Piloted Shredder makes sense. Maybe not, because what's your turn 3 play? Well, you can coin out the Keeper of the Grove, but that's pretty much it. But in order to establish aggression against the Warrior, it's a good idea to push out a minion onto the board that the Warrior has to handle. And as we see, the only thing that he has in his hand that he can play is the Shield Block or the Acolyte of Pain, and Shield Blocking in this situation against the 4-3 would pretty much just annul it completely, because it would be just 1 armor, leaving the Warrior at 3. So that's not really where you want to be standing at. Using turn 3 as just a Hero Power since the draw was a Wrath, which does nothing against an empty board like this. And you don't want to be using the Keeper of the Grove, especially against a Warrior for just 2 damage to the face in this stage of the game. Equipping the Death Spike. Wow, the Mech Warper, basic 2-3. Nothing too special about that one. It'll still enable Soderlund to push for 2 damage. Opting to not use the Swipe or the Keeper of the Grove or the Bomb Lobber with the coin because there are no targets for it. 2 turns just Hero Power, that's very, very slow, especially against a deck like Control Warrior, which you can assume fairly safely that they will be running some sort of Taunt Wall and big legendaries. There we go, that's the Sludge Belcher. Basically, this just means that they will not be clearing out the Mech Warper with the Death Spike, they're holding on to the weapon for higher value targets. Soderlund gets a Sludge Belcher of his own. Nothing to really deal 5 damage to that Sludge Belcher. Maybe combinate Wrath's 3 plus the 2 from the Mech Warper. In theory, yeah, that might work. Not that great though. Silencing it with a 2-4 would enable you to go for face with the Mech Warper. And the 1-2 slime would not be spawned. The 4 damage from Bomb Lobber, 1 off, just not quite enough. So if you want to go for the slower play, you build a Sludge Belcher of your own, feed it to the Death Spite. And if you want to go for the more aggressive play, you don't silence the Sludge Belcher, you coin out the Wrath. So you get the Wrath destroyed and the Mech Warper getting that 1-2 slime removed. If you had used it as just a silence, yes, the 3-5 would have been left on the board and would have gotten value from attacking into the Mech Warper. This way you get rid of the opposing minion completely and are still left with Keeper plus a Mech Warper nicely. Acolyte into an attack from the Dead Spite to remove the Keeper of the Grove, giving him 1 more draw, which we're going to see before he commits anything else onto the board. Cruel Taskmaster acting as removal against the Mech Warper. Could have also used it as a card draw for the Acolyte of Pain, but then the Mech Warper would have still be left on the board, and that's not a situation where you want to be left at. It could have traded off into the Taskmaster fairly efficiently. This turn the Bomb Lobbers will remove at least one of the opposing minions and leave a 3-3 body, so even if the bigger one of them stays alive, it won't be able to destroy the 3-3 by itself. On the other hand, the Sludge Belcher does feel good as well. It provides 3 damage versus the 4 damage from the Lobber. But since you're facing a warrior, there's not going to be a lot of better targets for the Bomb Lobber to Valkyrie into. Not really. Maybe Armorsmith as an exact 1-4. But other than that, it's just Acolytes and those Cruel Taskmasters that you want to be pinging off.
I wonder.
Quick reminder, we are watching the Hearthstone.fi Monday Night Community Tournament number 19, semifinal number 2, with Tars versus Soderlund, France versus Sweden, and right now France is leading 2-0. This Sludge Belcher pretty much the perfect answer for the opposing Bomb Lobber. Even if he has a second one or a swipe, it cannot handle the Sludge Belcher without some sort of spell power trickery, and it's unlikely to get those. There's a small risk in playing this Sludge Belcher, considering that if the warrior is able to remove it with something like a shield block, shield slam, and then use this Acolyte of Pain to go for the 1-2 and draw more cards out of it, or just use this Sludge Belcher to clear the 1-2 completely, it would in fact go against the Druid. So in a way, this Lotheb might have been better. It would have denied the efficient removal of the Shield Slam or the Execute. He would have had to have used 6 mana for it. There we go, Shield Block most likely being used with Shield Slam, leaving 4 mana up. Maybe the Execute, nah, Execute is unlikely, just Hero Power, Armorsmith. This turn. Does he utilize this Acolyte of Pain to draw more cards? Yes, he does. Getting more card advantage out there, and even getting a Fire War Axe. That's pretty perfect. You can utilize the War Axe to just destroy the Bomb Lobber and still be left with 6 armor. At this stage, I would call it in favor of the Warrior. He has got the board presence. He has got the cards in his hand and the card advantage. Although Soderlund is holding on a double swipe, which in theory could clear this board completely, it doesn't do him much good because the opposing warrior would get a humongous amount of armor out of this Armorsmith as well. Playing the Dr. Boom to at least get some sort of board presence makes some sense to me. Using the 1-1 armor, Cloud of Pain as enabler for the execute against the Dr. Boom. Makes a lot of sense, especially since you're holding on to 2 of them. We might even see a Baron get in this turn. It would get rid of the opposing boom bots, give yourself some armor. Maybe spawn the taunt with these death rattles, but not that big of a risk to take. And you would be left with the 7-5 on the board, which would threaten the opposing druid in a significant manner. The other option, just Shieldmate or Hero Power, is not that bad either. Or a Dr. Boom for yourself, in which case you would want to clear out these boom bots with the Armorsmith attack, maybe even the Sludge Belcher attack first, so they don't proc your own boom bots. On the other hand, proccing the boom bots means that the swipe will not be as useful. Now, 3 damage onto the Dr. Boom. That's perfect swipe range, right there. Boombot for Boombot, and only -1 when it comes to damage. So not the perfect turn for them. I'm probably going to see the swipe into the Dr. Boom this turn. With possibly a Loatheb. Since, well, if he uses the Bomb Lobber as well, there's a 75% chance it'll hit something useful. And a 25% chance it'll just hit the Boombot. If you use Swipe and then Bomb Lobber, you will remove either the Armorsmith or the Sludge Belcher, which is also fine. This does push more and more armor down the way of the warrior. Yep, there we go. Into 1-2. Unfortunately, the Bomb Lobber is really easily removable with the Fiery War Axe, so that's why I would have possibly preferred the Loatheb over it. Using Alexstrasza offensively. Both minions into the face and using the axe as a clear. Tars has got absolutely no problems right now. Just sailing his way to victory. Even the combo will not help Soderlund right now. Using the swipe as a defensive tool with your hero power would also not be enough. Using this combo, he will be able to kill off the Alexstrasza, use his hero as an attack against the slime, and then one of these trends to kill off the Armorsmith. Leaves the board empty, but it also leaves the druid with just 12 hit points and 2 cards versus the 6 cards and 34 hit points of the warrior. These whirlwinds, double whirlwind actually, that's quite interesting. Usually you don't see this sort of deck tech in modern control warriors. Yeah, it might work better against Mech Mage or very hyper aggressive things like Face Hunter. I understand why it's added there, but in a matchup like this, these are pretty much dead cards. Dropping the Shieldman and Hero Power, or the Baron Get In Hero Power. I would probably prefer the Baron Get In, because of the fact that he provides more attack value. On the other hand, if the druid is somehow just holding on to more removal, then the Shield Maiden is better. Loatheb into a defensive Druid of the Claw. Not a bad turn, but still just 1 card left against a whole lot of cards from Tars. You can attack with the 5-5, drop the Baron Get In. It will destroy the Shield Maiden and the Druid of the Claw, so it's not that great. Since the Loatheb will just be able to trade into Baron Get In efficiently. The shield block probably going to get used against a Druid of the Claw for the bigger body removal. Then just hero power up. Attack the face with the Shield Maiden, force them to use the Loatheb defensively to take care of your Shield Maiden. None of these other spells or this minion make any sense. You could, in theory, Whirlwind, but then you would be forcing the Shield Maiden to just trade with the Druid. Opting to go for the... Oh yeah, it wasn't the Shield Slam, it was a Shield Block. Sorry about that. Misread the card. Drawing into Death's Bite. So, not a whole lot there to do. Leave the Shield Maiden up as normal, so Soderlund will not be able to utilize the hero power to kill it. Straight up. Interesting choice to be made here though. Do you utilize the Druid of the Claw hero power here? Or do you go for the Loatheb trade? Considering the warriors do have whirlwind effects, I would even prefer the swipe hero power if he had the mana for it. Since he doesn't, he's going to be forced to use the 4/6 hero power to get rid of it. So you do want to hold on to the Loatheb. Loatheb is pretty much your only aggressive minion right now. And the opposing player is at 48 hit points, so that's going to take a long time to whittle down, even with 3 minions. You haven't seen a brawl, so the brawl will get pretty huge value anyway.
Time waits for no one.
Not destroying the Loatheb, yep, in my opinion, is a good call. You are pushing yourself down to 8, but it doesn't really matter as long as you have double taunt up. If you only had 1 taunt, yes, you would probably be at risk of getting silenced or removed. Combination with a Grommash or Ragnaros. Pretty much the only thing that would give them a potential lethal right now is Ragnaros. Acolyte into a Whirlwind for 1 removal and the card draw. There's the Shield Slam. I mistakenly already thought he had previously. Probably gonna get used into the Druid of the Claw. I see no reason why not to. Leaves him with 5 mana, Dead Spite away this Loatheb, and the board is completely clear and you're free to roam next turn. Using an Execute instead of the Shield Slam, and going for the face damage with the Dead Spite so you can close out the lethal next turn. I understand that. Those 2 cards would not be useful against Soderlund's face, so this way you get to utilize the damage output of the Dead Spite to just go for direct damage. Engine of Lore, if you don't use the Engine of Lore as a heal, you've already lost. But even if you do use it as a heal, you're still not in a very good position because the fact that you were unable to use the card draw from the lore and you're very badly behind on board. 5 damage from the minions. He is at 10 health. 7 with Baron. Still not quite enough. You can utilize the Dead Spite to go for the Engine of Lore removal. Draw a card out of the Acolyte as well. That's probably going to happen before we see anything else. You always want to get those draw effects out before anything else happens. Yep, perfect removal in the hand. Just a little bit slow. There's Grommash. Grom enabled with Whirlwind, and that's GG. Taurus takes it. With a clear 3-0 sweep over Soderlund. That is it for the semifinal number 2 of the Hearthstone.fi Monday Night Community Tournament number 19.